Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to the Infinite Cup podcast. Today I have Raw Food Romance. Beautiful, amazing, long-term, raw, vegan. I want to share healing and inspiring stories with you. This is what the podcast format is going to be all about, a very intuitive style. Please stay tuned for the official podcast release date. I'm still working on getting all the equipment that I need and just really want to make this podcast the best that I can before I just do the official release. Shout out to all my Patreon members. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for everyone who's bought my book. Thank you for just, being here and subscribing to the channel. Seriously, I just really want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. You guys are going to love this one. Raw Food Romance is just amazing person. She's just done so much content. She's got 5 recipe books. She's just a great influence in this amazing community that we have. So give it up for Raw Food Romance. This is a live go-to interview, a little impromptu with some new software. So if the audio is a little sketchy, I apologize. Again, stay tuned for the official podcast release date, and I will check you guys later. Much love. And we're live. All right. Welcome to the Infinite Cup, Miss Raw Food Romance. I am really excited to have you on the show. So basically everything spirituality, health, and wellness. It's an infusion, this holistic approach. The new paradigm of health is, needing people more than ever. It's something where a lot of people need this experiential process now with social media and the power, of YouTube and everything. It's just really cool to see the power of knowledge and information available to us. So yeah, so I'm excited to, we'll just get into a little intuitive thing, see what happens. And yeah, just excited to hear your story and kind of see where this goes. Yeah, it'll be fun. So let's start just kind of, what was the single major catalyst, just the single quick story or reference that kind of threw you over the edge with how, raw foods and health became your jam?
Nice. Well, thank you. Thank you for having me on. This is awesome. And for me, it was like I discovered raw veganism probably in 2004, where I was introduced to Professor Arnold Ehret's book, Mucusless Diet Healing System. And I resonated with the raw food so much, but I never had the vegan connection. I tried for 10 years over and over and over and over and over again to do a raw vegan diet. But like I said, I never had the vegan connection. I just assumed that if you ate raw foods, you were vegan and vice versa. They kind of went together for me. So I went through a lot of different diets. I was in the natural health industry since 2001. So I have a lot of experience, I guess, in the industry and with diets and helping people and all of that. And in 2013, I did a keto style diet where I did 60 days on this keto paleo thing, and my trainer would check off my journal, and I felt better because I wasn't eating junk food or any of that kind of stuff, but I didn't feel awesome either at the same time. I was really lethargic. I didn't have very much energy. My joints actually were really painful when I would be doing squats and stuff. And yeah, and she even sent me home because I couldn't do the pull-ups on the pull-up bar, which I had done like days before. So I was just like running out of energy. So at that point, I finished the 60 days and I binged on potato chips, and then I said I'd get back to it the next day, and then I binged on more stuff, and then it just fell into that food addiction state where I gained all of my weight back plus more. And I used to get heart palpitations in the middle of the night, and it would feel like I was having a heart attack, and then I couldn't go back to sleep because all I'd think about would be, what if I had a heart attack? What would it feel like? So I hated sleep, and I woke up this one morning. It was September 12th, 2014. And I'm like, that's it. I'm going to be raw again. And my ex at the time was like, okay, yeah, you're doing this again for the millionth time. I think the longest I ever was raw was about 2 months. And most times it would be like 2 to 3 days, maybe a week. And then social stuff would come up, or I'd forget I was even doing raw, or I'd want to eat this and that. So in 2014, I decided that was it. I felt so crappy. I had bad acne. My joint pain was severe. And I remember I would have to roll my ankles every morning for like 5 minutes before I would get out of bed because they were so inflamed and so painful. I'm like, I'm 34. I shouldn't have this problem. Yeah. But so what happened was I started watching all the people that inspired me in the past. So like Fully Raw Christina, and I stumbled upon some other YouTubers, and I started watching a lot. And a long answer to your question, but the defining moment was I was reading through the comments on Christina's video, and someone said to watch Earthlings, Cowspiracy, and Forks Over Knives.
Oh yeah.
And I watched the 3 of those back to back that day, and I sat back and I was like, guess I'm a vegan. And because I personally never had that classic traditional vegan diet, like the whole food plant-based thing or whatever, beans, rice, potatoes, veggies, I immediately defaulted back to raw because that's what I connected with veganism. So I never tried the classic vegan. I just was like full on raw.
Yeah, well, you hit the nail on the head. You totally hit the nail on the head earlier when you're talking about the like when you go on the keto, or like I think the latest one that I've seen was the Whole30. That's what they call it, the Whole30 diet. And these things, it's like people, yes, experience benefits from this because they're, you know, cutting out that processed food or the alcohol or whatever addiction-based, you know, thing that they had going on, and then they cut that out. They experience some benefits, and then, like you said, 30 days or 60 days in, and it's like you go back to this other thing, and that's when all the, you know, the springboard or this yo-yo thing happens, you know. And I think people just need to recognize that part. And it's just beautiful to hear such an organic story like yours, because for me, it's all about like a foundation, you know, and whether it's Fully Raw Christina or just anybody that, you know, you resonate with, to create that, you know, community that I call it a satsang, you know, it's just basically this community of people that is going to keep you to your highest values, right? To you know, if you have that intention, like you said, because you know you don't want the Doritos and the chips or whatever anymore, it's like you have someone, even digitally, to really help you keep you in that spirit. So it's just amazing times, you know, that we live in. It's just exciting. So I'm just curious. So you mentioned the mucusless diet. Let's fast forward a little bit now to, like, you know, 2019. Like, who do you think is who's your favorite, I should say, as far as just like, you know, the gurus or the current, you know, there's a lot of them out there now. My personal one is Medical Medium, if I were to answer the question, as far as kind of people that are kind of influencing, you know, people with health and real nutrition, you know. So I'm just curious what you think.
Well, the ones, like, yeah, you're right. There are a lot. There's tons out there. And I've always been a fan of Fully Raw Christina. So to me, she's the one I always resonated with the most. I also found Jack from Raw Tropical Living.
Oh, he's great. Yeah.
Yeah, we became friends like four and a half years ago, and we've been friends the whole time. I went and visited him in Costa Rica. I just really resonated with him a lot because he's so real.
Yes, he's very
chill
real.
And yeah. So, but yeah, there's so many out there. I mean, I've become friends with a lot of new ones too. Like there's Ted Carr and Grant Campbell, and I hung out with Doug Graham and Ronnie, who runs the Fruit Fests, and my new friend Raw Vegan Ginger. Like there's so many people out there. Really, and then obviously my fiance, Ron Nate. Yeah, he's an up and coming one too. But as for the big ones, yeah, I would say Christina is definitely one of my top ones.
Yeah, I just want to help, you know, I know people are listening to this and they're going to, you know, like I said, to me, it's that foundation and that community that will help solidify the path. And when people kind of, you know, and don't get me wrong, there's going to be up and downs, and it's not like this is what you have to do. And I don't like the dogmatic or the duality, or I don't like any of it. I just think at the end of the day, it's about positivity and light and being able to just share your experiences. And that's, you know, the power of YouTube and this, you know, type of technology for you.
Exactly. Yeah. Sharing. And I love what you say about not being in the box, because like the label, of course I'm a raw vegan, and I just use that as a way to describe how I eat, because it's not like I go, like someone's like, well, how do you eat? Oh, raw vegan, right? Or instead of saying like, how do you eat? You're like, well, I don't eat animal products. I don't cook my, you know, like going through all of that stuff. It's just easier to say I'm a raw vegan.
It's really funny how we get caught up in our words. I love studying conscious language, and I love studying just words in general. And it's like my own family doesn't even know what I consume. You know, like I come over for, you know, dinner just to be social and stuff. And they're just, oh, what does Robert eat? It's like, you know, it's funny because to me, it's such a natural, like, you know, fruits and vegetables. It couldn't be such a simple thing. Like, it does not get any more like simple than that, you know, but we have the human, you know, psyche just wants to complicate things to the utmost thing, you know, and it's just, it's funny, you know, that we do that to the most simple thing as food and, you know, water, the things that we all have to do as humans, no matter what.
Yeah, right. Totally. And then being so stuck on being perfect, or like using the label, like I said, like sticking yourself in the box. For me, I tell people, I'm like, well, I could eat anything I want as long as I'm not killing an animal, obviously, but I'll be like, I could eat grains and bread and pasta if I wanted to, but I always choose raw vegan food because that's what makes me feel the best.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I call just the body awareness. You know, it's because it's, you know, you've developed this body awareness where you know what it feels like to have these other, you know, foods, and you just don't want to feel that, you know, and you're in tune with that. And a lot of people are simply out of touch, you know, with their own body, like they're literally just severed head, you know, just walking around. And it's something that I think that body awareness is infinite. It's, you know, it doesn't stop, right? Like this energy, this, you know, feelings that you're describing, the longevity is something that it doesn't stop, because it's an evolution. You know, everyone's a teacher and everyone's a student, in my opinion, and we can all learn, you know, through these experiences, and nothing new, you know what I mean? Like fruits and vegetables, it's not, you know, nothing new here. Like it's, we don't, I mean, sure, we got some fancy juicers maybe now. My Omega's pretty nice, you know, it gets the wheatgrass pretty efficiently that probably they didn't get back in the day, but you know what I mean? It's just funny. Like I said, it's just nothing new here that we're doing. So it's just cool to kind of, to see it become popular finally, right?
Yeah, and it is cool to eat fruits and vegetables, right? Yeah. Finally.
Finally. So cool. I'm just curious now, what is something that, you know, has really influenced you in the sense of just that's kept you, you know, on the path, whether it's a particular food or your favorite fruit or your favorite recipe, or just something that kind of, you know, at the end of the day, I think we all kind of have our go-tos. You know, I call it kind of like the dog food. It's something that you could eat like anytime, you know, any time of day, any time of year or something, but you're just something you just look forward to, and that keeps you on the path. Because for me, when I talk about, you know, I'm sure you get a lot of it too with clients and stuff, as far as people, I don't want to call it excuses, but they're limiting themselves, right? They're like, oh, I wish I could do what you're doing, but this. Right. So that's what this, you know, question really is addressing, because if you have that thing, whether it's you know, could be anything like banana ice cream, or if it's ice cream, you can make a good banana ice cream, right? So it's like, if we can, you know, target that emotional center of that thing that is restricting them or limiting that person, that's to me where the energy needs to be focused, right? And it's not a one thing either. It's not like, oh, that banana ice cream is, you know, the best thing in the world. I just know, you know, for all of us, it's like you kind of find that one thing that's like, oh my gosh, this is what saved me, and I can't live without this thing.
Yeah. So for me, there's a couple things that I've noticed throughout my journey. When I first started, I would wake up every morning and tell myself, today I am a raw vegan. And I didn't focus on 5 years down the, you know, like it'd be like, oh yeah, I want to be a raw vegan for like 30 days even, right? Some people go on these 30-day things and it's so much overwhelming. So I would just be like, all I have to do is focus on today, because I came from alcoholic stuff, and I had friends in AA, and I learned a lot from them. And a lot of them would message me during times of stress, and then just be like, I just got to go minute by minute or hour by hour, day by day, just like focusing on smaller time frames. Yes. So that's what kept me focused in the beginning, was like, today, all I have to do is think about breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and that's that.
So beautiful.
So yeah, that helped. And then when I started to get creative with the recipes, that's when I started to formulate, like my French dressing was one of the ones that really was like, it blew out the waters for me, because it's just so simple. So 5 or 6 dates, 1 or 2 cloves of garlic, the juice of a lemon, a little apple cider vinegar if you want some, and smoked paprika, like a half teaspoon or whatever. You blend that with some water, and it's like a French tangy dressing. And when I was eating it the day I made it, I was like, it was like heavenly. I couldn't believe that. Yeah, so that became one of my major staples. And I love what you were saying, like, you know, there's these things that people keep or that want in their life to do that. I call it the fallback 5. So you find 5 recipes that you absolutely love, that you always have ingredients in your house, right? Like dates and lemons and stuff and spices to make the dressings that you love, or recipes or whatever. And you can know that if you're stressed out, if you're bored, if you're hungry, you can make any one of those 5 and you're just going to be like, oh yeah, I'm good. I'm good to go. And one of mine right now is my ramen. I make spiralized cucumbers, and then I take mushrooms, onions, broccoli, and various other vegetables if I want, and I marinate them in the sauce.
That sounds yummy.
Yeah, marinate them in the dehydrator for like 2 hours. Yeah, just for 2 hours to get them a little bit warm. And then I add them to the cucumber noodles, and I could eat that literally every day for the rest of my life.
Nice. See, that's what I'm talking about, because that passion, so I mean, is what drives people, you know, and that's what keeps you, you know, sustainable and kind of long term. And it's also the natural approach. I'm all just about natural and sustainable. You know, it's a very simple thing where that's a very beautiful recipe. It's amazing, and it's gonna satiate you, you know. And it's something I love the dressing thing too, because I really think dressings go a long way, you know, beyond salads. I love salads. I do a lot of different like what people might think a salad that is a normal salad, you know what I mean? I'm sure you too, but it's something where I just want to say dressings can be used for anything, right? And it's or any vegetable or fruit. So it's one of those things where the potential of dressings are amazing. So I'm just, that's a beautiful story. It's cool that that you found that. I have a similar kind of thing too. It's funny, I was obsessed with miso for a long time, way back in the day, and that was kind of my beginning to, I don't know how to say it, astringent, like that astringent quality, right? Because for me, when I was, you know, super hardcore raw, and I'm doing all this fruit, I feel that the astringent quality is the one that's like missing for me. So that's where I go for the dressings. And the most, you know what I mean? Like we were talking about the paprika, right? It's like something like that is where I feel more like to balance it out, right? So the dressings really play a big key role in that.
Yeah, and I never, like in my journey, I never did any like full on all fruit stuff or any of those, I want to use the word extremes because they are fairly extreme.
Yes.
I never did any of those, and I personally feel that I've been so much more balanced throughout my whole journey.
Yes, good.
Instead of, you know, like, you know, you try this and you try that and whatever. I wanted to be consistent with something that I could stay consistent with for the rest of my life.
Perfect.
Right. And then, and that's something that I address sometimes on my channel, is that people will message and they'll say, oh, I want to go raw. I eat, you know, standard American diet or standard junk foods and stuff. And should I do a juice cleanse or a fast? And I'm like, no. Get your foundation right first.
Totally.
I even venture into any of that.
I could not agree more with you. And it's something where it's my personality to you know, I get very passionate and excited about stuff, and especially, and I did those, you know, things as well. And I think, you know, I get a lot of those comments and responses too. And it's because people want an instant fix. You know, there's a lot of people not feeling good, you know, on their day to day. And the idea of a juice cleanse is very appealing because it creates this huge, you know, oh, I'm over here, now I can be over here as quickly as possible, you know. And I totally get that. And you're right. It's definitely not the sustainable approach. And it creates what I call the slingshot effect, where it's like, yeah, you do this, and then it's like, it's like, boom, you go like right back to, you know, or even more, it's like even a hardcore carnivore, or like, you know, more extreme than you were even before. So it's interesting how much of a mental, you know, emotional process this is, right?
Yeah.
And it's about, you know, addressing it from all angles, I think, because that's really where I feel the calling to. And I'm sure you see a lot of this as well in your work. It's looking at all the spokes on the wheel, you know, not just the food and not just like that. You know, for me, it's stress, to be honest with you. That's if I've learned anything in the 30 years that I've been alive, like the stress is like the biggest killer, to be honest. Like you can have the best diet, the best anything, and it's like the stress at the end of the day is making me acidic and weakening my adrenal glands and kidneys and function of a lot of systems in my body that are not, you know, being compromised for that. So it's not okay.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I've had people message and say, oh, I think it's this or that or whatever in their diet, but when it comes down to it, it has nothing to do. Like when you dig deep, when you really ask them, the important questions, like, how are you sleeping? Are you moving your body? Are you stressed out? Like, are you in an unhappy relationship? Is your boss always on your ass, right? Like, there's so many other things that people don't take into account.
No, it's huge, and that's, like I said, that holistic view. It's so crucial to this. So awesome. Well, thank you. I just wanted to, let's just wrap this up. How can people, get a hold of you and see you and do your, see more of your magic that you're putting out into the universe, the digital waves here?
Awesome. Yeah. So I am on YouTube, Lissa's Raw Food Romance, and also on Facebook, same one, Lissa's Raw Food Romance. I'm very active on Instagram and Twitter at Raw Food Romance. And on Twitter is cool because I share daily affirmations so that people can use those. They can apply them to their life or add them to their affirmation list, because I really want to help work with people changing perspectives, changing the way we look at stuff, because we've been indoctrinated our whole lives to think a certain way. We just got to think differently. And yeah, so I try to do that on Twitter, try to put out like some truth bombs. And then if anyone's interested in any of my recipe books, I have 4 currently, working on my 5th right now. Those are at payhip.com/rawfoodromance. And I've got print versions available on Amazon as well.
Perfect. We'll get all the links from you. I'll put them in the show notes and description. So that'll be perfect. I'm jealous, man. I just put out my first official book, and I have an ebook and things, but you got 5. I got to catch up. I feel, this determination, more than ever, to do the message and promote. So I just want to sincerely thank you, for the work that you're doing, and because I know it's huge, and also just thank you for addressing the other components, like you said, the mindset and the emotional. The magic is in actually those parts, really, at the end of the day, and that's what's not being addressed enough. And we just need more people talking about it, more people having the courage to share their stories and to be able to be inspired. So,
yes. Well, thank you for all the work that you're doing as well, and we need more voices, so get those books out.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here, and we'll do this again soon, I'm sure.
Yes, we will, for sure.